Welcome back to Live Young Diecast. I'm your host, Chips McGee, and this is event 2 of the modified Batmobile Race to the Cave Invitational Tournament. We've got 2 new contenders joining us on the Deep Eddy Raceway today as we come to you from the caves below the track. Sam Hall is also with us, as well as Golden Owl. These 2 drivers from event 1 will have their chance again today, along with our new contenders. That's Bay City Daryl in the red and gold Batmobile. He weighs in at 72 grams, and his new challenger for the event 2 race today will be Mr. Dark, the returning champion in that army green, the Batman Batmobile. This thing weighs in at 60 grams. He will be looking to make a statement as the returning champ. So our villains are the Riddler and Killer Croc. Killer Croc is from Monster Motorsports. The Riddler from right here at Live Young Diecast. They earned their positions last week in that villain showdown. So race 1 has Bay City Daryl on the inside, Mr. Dark on the outside. The villains always up front. Officer Mitchell always chasing from the rear, and Killer Croc with a nice lead. That is Bay City Daryl right behind him, who gets blocked or does some blocking on the Riddler through the finish line. We'll have to see what that position is for points. Killer Croc taking the 5-point position. Villains do not earn the points, but that was before to Officer Mitchell, so it looks like Bay City Daryl's taking the 3-point finish here. 5, 4, and 3. The Riddler taking the 2-point position, so that is Mr. Dark with 1 coming in the rear. Bay City Daryl in the lead after the first lap. Villains will stay in position, and Mr. Dark rotates to the inside. Bay City Daryl on the outside. And Mr. Dark pushing on Croc a little bit. That's a good sign. The Riddler closing in. Killer Croc gets banged up at the finish line. Looks like he hit the sidewall and came back to cause some mayhem. Also pulling down a sub-7 time, which is pretty common for Killer Croc, as we saw last week. So he gets right there, gets whacked into the side, gets hit by the rest of the crew, and this is a real bit of mayhem here. My goodness. A sub-7 time for Killer Croc, coming back for the mayhem. Looks like the Riddler comes through, and then Mr. Dark, and then Bay City Daryl. He does cross the finish line, even though he goes back to cause some trouble. That's going to be 3 to Mr. Dark and 2 to Bay City Daryl. So Mr. Dark sitting with 4, Bay City Daryl with 5 total. Officer Mitchell didn't make it through. All right, our third lap, and Bay City Daryl rotates back to the inside. Mr. Dark on the outside. This time the villains will switch for these 2 laps. And the Riddler out front. Bay City Daryl trying to catch him. He'll take 4 points there. And it looks like Mr. Dark might come through with 1 again at the rear of the pack. Let's take a look at the replay. Killer Croc trying to pass on Bay City Daryl, doesn't get it. He'll come through for 4, and that's the 3rd place position to Killer Croc. I think Mitchell got through as well, which is rare. Officer Mitchell back there passing Mr. Dark, and yeah, that's going to put Mr. Dark at the 1-point earning on that 3rd lap. So Mr. Dark with 5, Bay City Daryl stretches out the lead to 9 as we go into the last race for these 2 new contenders. Mr. Dark back on the inside, Bay City Daryl on the outside. And the Riddler with a decent lead again. The Croc looking to pass again is held out, this time by Mr. Dark, who whizzes by after Riddler gets squirrely. And that's going to be a perfect 5-point finish, the only one for these 2 contenders out of their 4 laps. The only perfect finish from Mr. Dark. 5 points, taking advantage of the Riddler's mistake. And that looks like possibly 2 to Bay City Daryl here. That'll be 5. There's the 4. So that's going to be a 3-point finish for Bay City Daryl. And that is going to be enough to put him in a decent lead here. 12 points, Mr. Dark with 10. So that'll be their scores working their way into the overall standings after both events, or all 4 drivers have had 4 laps. And now we're going to do new matchups with 3rd and 4th. That's Golden Owl and Mr. Dark, and then 1st and 2nd, Sam Hall and Bay City Daryl. So the bottom of the pack fighting for some more points with 2 laps here. And race 1 has Mr. Dark on the inside. That is Golden Owl on the outside. And Mr. Dark doing pretty well here. Going to come in for the 2nd place position. We'll take a look and see where Golden Owl came in on the replay. The Croc, Killer Croc, holding off Mr. Dark a little. Looks like he wanted to really get through with some more speed. Killer Croc going up on the rails and slowing down. Donovan Kenyon coming through ahead of the Riddler. And it looks like Officer Mitchell getting spun out several times back there. So that's going to be 3 points to Golden Owl, 4 to Mr. Dark, bumping up their overall scores. We'll see where this ends after the next matchup. So Donovan Kenyon, the Golden Owl on the inside. Mr. Dark on the outside for this lap. Beautiful jump from Mr. Dark. Donovan Kenyon coming through with a sub-7 time. Was that Golden Owl or was that Killer Croc? Let's take a look at the replay. Killer Croc with a big lead. He goes over, and that is Golden Owl who gets through for a perfect finish. 5 points. And it looks like Mr. Dark's going to take the 3-point finish here. Sub-7 time for Golden Owl as well. 6.8218. And that's the Riddler taking advantage over Mr. Dark. So 5 points to Golden Owl on that lap. And we're into the 2nd matchup with Sam Hall on the inside, Bay City Daryl on the outside. And Sam Hall really moving, going after Killer Croc. I don't think he's going to get him and take the 5 points, looking like a 4-point finish, a sub-7 time, however. This is a really tight race here with Sam Hall right on the bumper of Killer Croc the whole way. Gets a little closer here on the final stretch. Killer Croc able to hold him out. And Bay City Daryl coming through with, I believe, is the 2nd place with a 2-point position there. So 2 points to Bay City Daryl, 4 to Sam Hall, bumping their scores up to 19 and 14 overall with 1 lap to go before we've got a total on all 4 drivers. All right, the 2nd lap. This is Bay City Daryl on the inside and Sam Hall on the outside. Our last lap of the evening. And Bay City Daryl getting passed by the Riddler, who flips over. Killer Croc is away with it as usual, and Bay City Daryl able to come through and take 4 points. This will bump up his score nicely. And let's see what happens. We lost the Riddler on his roof after the Vista jump. We didn't see Sam Hall come through. Looks like he got hung up in the pool turn, getting shoved around by the Riddler. And Sam Hall will DNF on that last lap. However, I don't think it's going to matter. I think he's still going to be sitting on top. 19 points, Sam Hall. And that's 18 to both Bay City Daryl and Golden Owl. 17 points to Mr. Dark. Very tight group. It's all list racing from here on out. For the new contenders, we'll be chopping away at this group and trying to get to this guy, Sam Hall, top of the pack. All right, y'all stay tuned next week. The Lamborghini series for the Diecast Euro Cup kicks off with groups 1 and 2. We're looking forward to it. All right, jump in with us and hit that subscribe button. Hit the link in the description for the merch shop and leave us a comment. Until next time, we hope you live young. Diecast.